Omar Chizkia. We are now learning the Amud Yomi. Welcome back to our Amud Yomi Shiur. What a beautiful Tuesday morning. It will be even more beautiful soon. The war will end. Mashiach will come. And we just have to be stronger with our learning. Okay. Valoidinu. Yeah, Valoidinu. It's a Kal V'chomer. We're saying, Baruch Hashem, we're saying that the girl may be sold to her relatives. If you can sell her to people who are apostle, people who, if she marries, may be an Isser Kores, excuse me, Psulin is not Isser Kores, yeah? The Imachru Psulin, if he sells her to people who are Psulin, who are people like Mamzer, V'chulei, Loim Kareno Lekroivim, shouldn't he sell it to Kroivim? At the moment, the Gemara ignores the fact of Yud. Yeah? Right now, we're not talking about Yud, and it's not so clear to me what's the Kal V'chomer of the Gemara, but at least we can understand there's no issue of Psulim or Kroivim. You can sell it to whoever you want. That's what it sounds like over here. We still have to understand what's a Kal V'chomer. And then the Gemara says what we obviously all know, that it's not the same thing at all. Obviously, what are you talking about? By psulin, what did we say by psulin? By psulin, if you want to be meyad b'di'evid, the yud would work. If the master is a mamzer and she's a regular girl, not a gioris, let's say, then it works. Then yud b'di'evid would apply. Seller, worst comes to worst, should be misyad to it. Seder, masha'en ken kroivim imotze leyad eina meyad. But by svara, yeah, if you want to sell her to close relatives, such as her father or her brother, of course you cannot sell her. Why? If she marries her father or marries her brother, would the marriage apply? No, because that's an Isser Kores. And then Yud really doesn't apply. Not b'di'evid. And clearly I would say that that's not good sales. So you can't even sell her to people who would never, ever potentially be able to marry her. Full stop. Which means, according to Rabbi Lezer, the word le'ama teaches you that although she clearly cannot marry her brother or her father, nevertheless, she may be sold to these people, even though Yud would never come to fruition. That's Shittas Rabbi Lezer. We've seen that before too. Okay, so basically, we have three Shittas. Questions are welcome, not right now. According to Rabbi Meir, so we'll see more about Rabbi Meir. So far, we saw Rabbi Meir is not dealing so much so far with Kroivim and not Kroivim. He says, Rabbi Meir says, listen, the father can just make a condition. I don't want Yud. I can mix and match. I can cut it to my size, custom made. I want just what? Mechira as an ama. She'll wash your dishes and clean the floor and sweep the garbage. That's all. But she's not for marriage. That is who? That's Rabbi Meir. I yield. Le'ama. The Torah says doesn't have to be. Yud doesn't have to be there. Now, according to Tanakama, what did we say? You cannot make such a condition. And Tanakama says that you may sell her to psulim. You may sell her to people like a mamzer, even though if Yud would happen, but it would happen by mamzer. But to kroivim, to close relatives, which is chorus to marry them, you can't. Rabbi Lezer took it one step further. Rabbi Lezer said, no, even to kroivim, although she will never ever be misyaed to them. The Torah itself told you, le'ama, to tell that even if it will halachically never become marriage, never turn into marriage, never morph into marriage, because it's a real Isser, brother and sister, father and daughter, instant, then what? Still, you're allowed to sell her, even though it will not become Yud. Now, to close the circle, says the Gemara, Rabbi Meir, lepsulin. Now, according to Rabbi Meir, we have an issue. Rabbi Meir used the word le'ama to tell me that it's up to the father. The father may make a condition, I don't want Yud. So according to Rabbi Meir, how do we know if the word le'ama is already occupied and taken for this drasha? How does he know that you're allowed to sell it for psulin? How does Rabbi Meir know? What's his source to know that really you can sell it to a mamzer? Answers the Gemara, lepsulin, nafka lemechad and nafka Rabbi Lezer. The same source of Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer had a different source. What was the source? Imro beinei adoneo. The Torah says that sometimes, even if the marriage is halachically bad, meaning mamzer, it's still a good, valid sale. Yeah, so that's where Rabbi Meir is going to learn it too. Bekroivim. Where would you learn the halacha that kroivim you're allowed to sell it to kroivim? Says the Torah. Who says he believes in that? So he really thinks like Rabbanon that you're not allowed to sell her to relatives, and therefore, no problem. The posuk that he has, which posuk, or Meir holds like this: the posuk la'ama is telling me, I, as a father, can make conditions. I'm not interested in marriage, not interested in yud. And how do you know that she may be sold to a mamzer? You know, from the posuk Kibo ben Adoneho. That's it. That's Abimael. Okay? So la halacha, I don't know now la halacha, but so far we're saying there are two, besides Rabbi Meir, there are two opinions. Chachamim say you're allowed to sell her to a mamzer, but not to relatives. You have to make sure that at least by the Eved, the Yud would apply, which is only by mamzer, not by brother father. Rabbi Lezer says, no, you can sell it to your own son, sell it to her own brother, to her own father, whoever you want. Why? Because you can't sell it to the father, by the way. I was wrong. You can sell it to his father. You can sell it, I meant, sorry, you can sell it to a grandfather. Sorry, I made a mistake. You don't sell it to yourself. You are the father. I meant to say you can sell it to your father, which is her grandfather. Even though grandfather can't be to his granddaughter. Yeah, according to Ablezer, true, they will never marry. Still, you can have shifchus without yud. That's what Ablezer says. Okay, but Ablezer and Chachamim, they both don't, none of them thinks that you can make a t'nai, your own t'nai against the Torah. If you sold it to just a nice guy, Rabbi Lezer and Chachamim, nobody says, I'm the father and I'll decide, no yud. That only Rabbi Meir believes it. Yeah, that's his drosha. Yes, parrots, what's your question? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Oh, as Mechaven, I read your mind. Yes. Ani Chada. Says the Brisa. Moichel oviv ve'en moichel b'noi. Wow. One Brisa differentiates between the relatives. He's allowed to sell his daughter to his father, but not sell his daughter to his own son, to her brother. Interesting. The Tanya Idach, the other Brisa says, Ein moichel loy loviv ve'lo b'noi. The other Brisa says, no, you can't sell her neither to your father, her grandfather, neither to your son, her brother. So it's a stira in the Brisas, first of all. And secondly, one brisa just doesn't make sense. That I understand. To say you cannot sell her neither to the father nor to the son, that follows Rabbanon against Rabbi Lezer. Any person who's not allowed to marry her and the marriage is invalid, Isser Kores, can sell her to him. Very good. That's funny opinion, L'choira, says you're allowed to sell it to your father, the father of the father, and you can't sell it to your son. Who does that follow? Why differentiating between the close relatives? They're both Isser Kores. A girl with her brother and a girl with his grandfather is the same level of severity. So who are you following here? Lo Rabbanon, v'lo Rabbi You're not following neither Rabbanon, not Rabbi Lezer. According to Rabbanon, it's all Osir. According to Rabbi Lezer, it's all Mutter. It's not Mutter to marry them. It's mutter to sell them, even though it's not marriageable. So make up your mind. Why are you halfway here, halfway there? Answers the Gemara, L'oilam kirabonon. Really, this is one opinion within Rabbanon. Moidu Rabbanon heichadika tzad yud. According to this version of Rabbanon, they say that whenever you have one side, one possibility of yud, then the marriage works. And this is going to be something very, very, very cute now. Listen to this. Who can the Odon be miyad the girl to? Himself or his son? Ah, very good. Now, now we understand why you're allowed to sell her to her grandfather and not to her brother. Why? Yeah. What's that? Because who is the son of the master? In the case of the grandfather, the grandfather's son, he's her uncle. He's her uncle. The grandfather's son, her grandfather's son, is her uncle. And a girl is allowed to be married to her uncle. It's even a mitzvah. And therefore, there is one option here. Mashenkin, if you sell her to her brother's son is her nephew, and the nephew is not allowed to marry his aunt. That's pshat. In other words, according to this opinion, as long as there is one option of yud, it's okay. I'll repeat. To marry her off to your father, then what? Very good. Why? To sell your daughter to your father, She'll be working for the grandfather. Can she marry the grandfather? Chas v'shalom. Can she marry the grandfather's son, her uncle? Yes. So this opinion says even if there's one side of Yud, it's good enough for her to be sold. But she'enken, if you sell your daughter to your son, then his son is not allowed to marry her because his son is her nephew, and nephew is not allowed to marry an aunt. It's called arir, it's an isur kores, and therefore there, neither your son, neither his son, yeah, her nephew, none of them can marry her. Since there's no Yud whatsoever, whichever side, that's why no Yud at all, Bechlal, Bechlal. Then we say, you can't sell it to that family, Bechlal. So that's a machloek. It says the Ritva, it's two opinions within Rabbanon. One opinion, Rabbanon says, nobody, nada, nada. You can't sell it to any close relative because the master himself is treif for her. The other opinion says, hey, look further. If there's a chance of the master's son marrying her, meaning her uncle may marry her, and he may. Mimela, the sale is a good sale. That's what we say. Yeah? Okay. Chart? We don't need a chart for that. Yeah? Maybe. Don't know about it. Weiter. Says the Heilige Braisa. Don't know about it. Im begapa yovoi, now it's going to be easier. The droshes about an Eved Ivri. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu. Don't know about it. Im begapa yovoi, begapa yetze. It says in the Torah some word which is very rare word. Im begapa yovoi, begapa yetze. If the man comes, if the Eved Ivri comes begapoi, when he leaves, he also leaves begapoi. If you don't know what begapo means, you're doing great because that's exactly what the Gemara is holding right now. If an Eved Ivri came into slavery begapoi, make sure he leaves the slavery, he exits also begapoi. What's begapo? In modern Hebrew, it is, you know what begapo is? It's a very fancy word in English. We're going to see it. What? Actually, that's not what it means in modern Hebrew, but fine. Says I'm impressed with the Hebrew. Nothing to do with the art school, of course. Says the first opinion, begufo nichnas, begufo yetze. He comes in with his body, guf gapoy, and he leaves also the gufo, he leaves out with his body. What does that mean? We still don't know. What? His own body, yeah. Let's see. Oh, yes. Okay. Rabbi Lezer, well, lat. Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov Oimer, Yechidi nichnas, Yechidi yetze. If he came in alone, he comes out alone. And that's what begapo means in modern Hebrew. Begapo means by himself. If you say in modern Hebrew, nice Hebrew, ba begapo, it means he came by himself. So if he came in alone, he goes out of the slavery alone. Still very hard to understand. Two opinions. Either means his body or it means, solitary. My begufa nichnas begufa yetze. What it come, as Yitzchak was saying, what do you mean? With which other body is he supposed to go? With anybody, everybody? Of course he comes in his body and lives with his body. Hopefully he's not dead. Omer comes to tell you, Loima, 1 second. Loima, it's coming to tell you, sorry, 1 second. Yeah. Omar Rove, Loimar she'ena yoytze berosh she'evorim ke'eved. Oh, that's what it's telling me. Yeah. In other words, an Eved Knaini, how does an Eved Knaini gain his freedom? If the Odon hit him too hard and mistakenly or not cut off one of the 24 organs, yeah, the whatever, the fingers, the eye, the thing, the nose, then what? He goes free. Begapa Yoved, Begufa Yetze is telling you he goes out intact and he doesn't go out handicapped. Which means if the Adon cut off the nose of the Eved Ivri, then he doesn't gain his freedom that way. He does not. He does not gain his freedom just by that. Now, okay, what do you do with him? You pay him. Pay. What do you do if you cut off your next door's neighbor? Your neighbor's too nosy. So you cut off his nose. I don't recommend to do that. What happens to you halachically? You have to pay him a lot, 5 times money. 5 different types of compensation. Same thing with Eved Ivri. Yeah. So, same thing with Eved Ivri. You pay him all the nizikin. That's it. Now, Omerla Abaye, what? It does not go out though. He doesn't go. He stays Eved. Stay here and keep sweeping the home. I'll give you a bandage and I'll pay a lot of money, but you still stay in Eved. Yeah. Omerla Abaye, who? That's, you telling me this is the source to tell me that an Eved Ivri does not go out with Roshe Evorim by being his Evorim cut off. No, I know that from a different place. We saw that before. It says about an Amma Ivriya, and the same is about a man. It says, she should not leave the house of the master the way that the slaves do, meaning that the Jewish girl or boy do not leave the master's house like the Eved Knani. So I know it already. So what do you tell me, Gapa, Gapa, Gufay, Gufay? I know that from a different source. Answers the Gemara to protect the Baye. Had we only had that pasuk, Havamina, I would have said, Nesiv ledmei einei venei poik. Ha ha ha. I would have said like this, an Eved Ivri, he's a super duper guy. You know what he means that we don't let him go like we let the Knainim go? No. I would say pay him 5 payments, and set him free. As opposed to an Eved Knani, which is only set free. That would be the Havamina. If you only say, the Eved Ivri, the Choshev one, he's not like the Eved Knani. What would that indicate? Eved Knani, that you cut off his nose. You don't pay him anything. He gained his freedom. That's a lot. You don't pay him anything else. You don't pay him a dime. You pay him by freeing him. And Eved Ivri, you don't do that to him. But what do you do to him? I would have mistakenly say, you pay through your nose, and you set him free. That's what I would have thought. Kamash Malan, that we don't say that. Kamash Malan, that he bechlal does not go free by Chalila Rosh Evorim. Elamai, you only pay him like a regular Jew, and he keeps sweeping the floor. You're out of hospital after 2-3 days with a bandage. Hi, the floor and the dishes are waiting for you, mister, and I'll pay you chutz mizeh million, and you still have to make to work for me the value of 10 million. Yes. But, the halacha is that he's that's in Gittin, all these details of everything. Yes. Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov has a whole different explanation to this pasuk, as we said before. Yechidi nichnas, yechidi yetze. He comes in alone, he goes out alone. My yechidi yetze. Exactly what does that mean? Omer Nachman bar Yitzchak. Hachikomer. This is what he says. Listen to this. Yesh lo isho bonim. If that Eved Ivri, before starting his Eved Ivri term, his Eved Ivri 6 years, before he started that, he was already married and had children. Rabbi Moisel Shifcha Knainis. Then his Rebbe, then his master, forces him to be with the Shifcha Knainis as a second wife. En lo isho bonim, en Rabbi Moisel Shifcha Knainis. Wow. In other words, if he was a single guy, then his master is not allowed to force him either, and therefore is not allowed to be the Shifcha Knainis. Wow. In other words, the Shifcha Knainis is always a second wife, not a first wife. It's very hard to understand. And the Rambam says it's divrei Kabbalah. This is what we have as, like Xeris HaKosov. I heard all kinds of explanations. You can say all kinds of nice ideas. I don't remember who says it. You can say we don't want his first wife to be a Knainis. In other words, start your life on the first foot, and not like the first girl you dated and married was some Knainis. Or you can say, mitzad maybe he's only Yetzer Hara, he's already used to his wife, so give him another wife. A Bachor is not Bechlal into these things. You can say all kinds of things. Maybe I'm going to look into it more later. I haven't managed to see much Hashkafa here, but this is halacha. If he's married to woman number 1, then the master gives him a Shifcha Knainis, and he also has kids from the first one. Otherwise, no. If he doesn't have other wives, also could be that if he doesn't have any other wife, he only has a Shifcha Knainis. That's another, which I'm just thinking right now. It's my own chiddush. I hope I'm mechaven to the emes. We want him to miss his real wife. We want him to want the original wife and go back to a family. If his first and only family that he knows are Knainis and her children, the likelihood that he'll do that ping and will actually want to stay till the next Yovel is more likely. It's the first woman he ever knew. The frum guy. It's the first thing, and therefore, what we don't want that. We prefer that he has another woman there back home who's waiting for him and he wants to go back to her. Hopefully. We don't know what's going to happen, but at least hopefully yes. Now we come to talk about another point about Pidyon. Up until now, whenever I told you about Pidyon, not Pidyon Aben or Bezel Hashem Pidyon Shvuim, how does an Eved redeem himself from his master with money? because I like to talk about nice round numbers. I don't want to get, messed up with math. What did I say? There's a prepayment of 6 million for 6 years. Yofi. After 3 years of work comes the Eved himself. His relatives are not allowed to interfere by an Eved Ivri, by the way. Yeah, definitely not if he was sold by Beis Din. And what? And now he himself made money. He got the Yerusha. And now he says, I owe you 3 million, right? Look, 3 million cash. Don't tell the authorities I'm giving you 3 million cash and any envelope, count it. It's real money. I got it from my uncle, the rich uncle from Argentina. And what? And now what? Take the 3 million and I'm buying back from you the future 3 years that I owe you as work. So far, are we all happy? That was when the numbers are nice and round. Ooh, what happens as an introduction? As we all know, there's inflation, deflation, very big changes in the market. There's a war in Israel, in Ukraine. What happens if the person, i.e., the Eved Ivri, in the middle of his 6 years terms, he started going to the gym or became smarter in his job? By the way, not all Eved Ivris would just sweep the floor and change the diapers. The Gemara talks, I think, about Matzia, and Eved is a professional. He could be a professional worker. Yeah, it could be an accountant. It could be nothing personal. He could be a Noikev, I'm saying, as a Choshev, I'm giving it as a Choshev example. He can be a Noikev Margolius, like a diamond cutter. Yeah, so then what? So let's say he did his PhD while he's an Eved Ivri. Now his work is worth much more. What are you going to do then? In other words, when you acquired him, he was worth 6 million. In the middle of the term, had you to buy him now, he's worth 12 million. And now you want to redeem him. Oh, now I'm confused. Shall we now say that the next 3 years we still judge as if he's globally worth 6 million? Now give me 3 and go home. Yeah. Or we say, no, now he's worth 12 million currently. So now every year of work of his is worth 2 million. So now if you want to buy 3 years off, now you have to pay me 6 million. Do we go by the old price or do we go by the current price? And what happens if he goes down in price? He became old and depressed, but there's no need for that kind of work anymore. Yeah, then let's see what the Gemara says. Nimkar b'mone. When he was sold, he was worth 100. V'shbiach v'omad al musayim. He improved. Either he became better or there's more demand to his job. He's now worth 200. Minayin she'en mechashvin lo ela mone. How do you know that when we calculate now, we are being, so to speak, miserly with the master, and we only give the master according to the old, cheap, low price? How do you know that that's how we calculate? In my example, give only 3 and not 6. It says in the Torah, and by the way, that talks about from a goy. These psukim talk about if you buy them off from Tim McKenzie. So you have 2 ways to calculate the old price and the new price. If the old price is cheaper, you go with the old price and you give McKenzie less money, only 3 and not 6, only that. Now the opposite case. Nimkar b'mosayim, the hichsif means it cheapened. The Amud al-Moneh, he used to be a good, robust, upbeat person, 200 worth. Now 3 years into the job, he's all 1 money, white hair. He's only worth 1 money. How do you know minayin she'en mechashvin lo ela moneh? Look what we're doing. Here, we're going by the current price, not the old price, the opposite of before. Meaning, we always go by the cheap price. We always give the other less money. How do you know? Talmud Loimer, kefi shonov. It says you pay per year. You get according to the years. And since the upcoming 3 years are only worth the cheap price, the current, you go by the cheap. So it's very, very, very easy. In other words, whether he went down in price or up in price, you always give the Odon the lesser of the 2 prices, either old or current. You always calculate the cheaper price, the lower rate. Now, okay, that kind of makes sense. When you talk about an Eved who sold to an idol worshiper, the guy has all the bad things in the world in his house. He has a Avodah, unfiltered internet, and you want to get the Eved Ivri quickly out of there. We see a concept that exists only by a guy sold to a goy, that the relatives, not just he himself, his own money, the relatives not only allowed to, it's highly recommended his relatives get together, yeah, somehow, muster up the money, get the money, and redeem him ASAP. Because we know that to get out of the hands of that Mackenzie is a priest, and also filtered, unfiltered internet, and all the bad things. Yeah. So then what? He's a boxer, he's a Hollywood star. Yeah. So then you want to get out of him there ASAP. You do anything, and therefore it makes sense. You always read the psukim in such a way of whatever is cheaper to the guy, I'll give the guy. Don't ask me, would the guy agree? We're talking about a guy who follows halacha when it comes to choshen mishpat. Yeah, he's under our hands. So we tell the guy, listen, Mr. Mackenzie, we're being fair with you, but we're going with a lower rate. That's very nice towards vis-a-vis the guy. Nimkar Yisrael minolan. How do you know that if he sold to Israel, that would still apply? Excuse me, Israel, that's not the same job. No, he's taken by a very, very nice from family. We haven't seen that the relatives are supposed to redeem him. We haven't seen even that they can redeem him. So redeeming the Eved Ivri from the Ivri is not such, great shakes dafka. We haven't seen relatives do it. So how do you know? Do you play such a game and you always go with the lower price? Why do you make sure to quickly redeem him with lower price? Why? Oh, takes us a few dapim back because there's Gzer Shava Sochir. Not everything, but some halachas that apply to the Sochir, meaning an Eved that's sold to a Goy. We have Gzer Shava to compare them, import, export, and we say the same halachas, some of them apply to one sold to a Jew, and there too, you always go the cheaper price and you give the master, even a Jewish one, the lesser price, and you let him free. Omar Abaye, but that's not the end of the story. Omar Abaye, says Abaye. Abaye every once in a while makes the following statement. Areni ki ben Azai b'shuke Tveria. Says Abaye like this. When I am now, this is my high moment, says Abaye. I'm in a good mood. Right now, says, as Rashi says, yeah, Zach Daitoi, yeah, when he had good mood, Abaye, he would say, guys, you can ask me whatever you want now. In other words, I feel good, I feel confident. Quiz me, stump me. That's what we'd say in American, right? I am like the famous Tana ben Azai. Ben Azai was a very, very learned Tana. Ben Azai was a star Tana. Ben Azai himself said, I am, or Ben Azai said, all of Chacham Yisrael comparing to me are like the garlic's peel, except for Rabbi Akiva. Yeah, Ben Azai, high self-esteem. Ben Azai was known to be very, very chorif, very big Talmid Chacham. Says Abaye, I'm like Ben Azai in Tveria. Now Ben Azai lived in Tveria. Meaning, ask me anything you want now. Today is question day. Stump me, challenge me. Omer Omer Rabbanu Abaye. Okay, take the challenge. Here the game starts. Omer Omer Rabbanu Abaye. Michdi Hani Kroi. These psukim which we just quoted about redeeming for the cheap price, equal medrashunu lekula, equal medrashunu lechumra. Right? In other words, those psukim. One pasuk says that you redeem him like the original price. Doesn't say cheap or expensive. And the other pasuk says, yeah, shonov, you redeem him according to the upcoming year's current price. Doesn't say high or low. So if so, my chazis dedoshinu lekula, dedoshinu lechumra. What makes us say that we always doresh lekula? Why do we say that those psukim are always easy with the Eved? Obviously, these psukim are very they have an agenda. They're very agendized. Yeah, these psukim are very, very clearly. You always pick and choose which one, whatever's easy for the Eved. The cheap price, so the Eved can go out for cheap. Why? Maybe lechumra. Maybe if the Eved stays by a Jew, maybe be machmir. Maybe say no, I want the Eved to stay there longer. And maybe dafka, unless paying the high price, he shouldn't get out of there. How do you know? We already said Gzer Shova. Yeah, we said Gzer Shova, Sochir, Sochir. But Abai has a different answer. Abai is answering differently. Doesn't make sense to me, says Abaye. Because we saw that the general hashkafa regarding Eved Ivri is Rachmana. Who's Rachmana? The Torah is Mekel. The Torah is being lenient with the Eved Ivri. With the Eved Ivri, the Torah is Mekel, right? Therefore, it makes sense when it comes to redeem him, also will be easy and lenient with him. Where have we seen that the Torah is being nice and lenient with Eved Ivri? This brisa, everybody knows. The Tanya. It says in the Torah, Kitoiv lo imach, it's good for the slave, Ivri, to be with you. What does it mean, with you? Imcha b'maichal, v'imcha b'mishte, he's supposed to eat with you and drink with you. Shelote ata oichel pas nekia, Not that you should eat nice, fancy white bread. Today we know white bread is not healthy the way it's done today. Yeah, you cannot eat the fancy bread from the patisserie, and he's going to eat garbagey, black, bad kind of bread. Give him the same level of food like you. Ata shoyse yain yoshon v'shoyse yain chodosh. Don't drink the good old wine and give him new wine. Give him some, sugary grape juice. You drink the fancy Chardonnay, give him the fancy Chardonnay as well. Ata yoshan al gabi muchim v'yoshan al gabi ateven. Don't sleep over muchin, over, duvet, comforter, nice beddings, nice linen, and he's going to sleep on the hay. No. Mikan omru. From here, they have derived the following statement. Yeah, whoever acquires an Eved Ivri acquired himself a master over himself. Yeah, you were owned by your Eved. The Avodim have so many workers' rights. They have such strong workers' rights. You employ that guy, it's a big headache for you. Yeah, you just acquired yourself an Odoin. Oh, so wait a second. Mimela says, Abaye, listen, without going to any Xerashava, I should think that ashkafically, we see that we're being so nice to the Eved Ivri. Makes sense. We allow the Eved Ivri also to go out in a more easy manner. Frag the Gemara, no, why is that automatically connected? The Gemara is not challenging. The Gemara is not challenging Abaye's words. The Ema, I would say, hanimili le'inyan achila v'shtia. Maybe only when it comes to eating, drinking, and other conditions. Then I understand we don't want the Eved Ivri to actually be mitztayr. We don't want him to suffer. That's one thing. While he's doing his term, he shouldn't suffer. But I have a reason to say, as we're going to see soon, when it comes to redeeming him, I'm not so keen on him leaving his, not jail, I'm not keen on leaving his rehab system so quickly. There's a reason why he's there. Now I want to not surprise you. Everybody thinks, why is Eved Ivri staying as a slave by the guy? Because he stole. True. But that's about the guy who stole. What about the guy who sold himself? The guy who sold himself is also being punished. The guy who sold himself, we may want him to stay there jolly well 6 years because he also did something wrong. Why? Look what we say now. Following the opinion of Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina. Yeah, the Tanya Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina Omer says Rabbi Yochanan like this. Come and see kama kosher avka shel shvis. Look and see how much the avak literally means the dust of shvis. People, can you tell me what's avak ribis or avak loshen hora? Whenever we say the dust of the Isser, what do we mean? Similar to the Isser, or nice, good, or the lighter aspect of the Isser, which means Isser Shvis has many prohibitions connected to it. Prohibition number 1 is to actually till the earth, to actually work the field, right? That's mamash osur midoraisa. Now, another Isser may also be doraisa, but it's not as severe, and then is dealing, selling, and buying fruit of Shvis in a prohibited way. Yeah. Now, the reason why it's a little bit less chomer is it's derived from an assay. It says, yeah, the land and its produce should be yours to eat and not to make juice in a strange way. We all know that, yeah? Or to eat and not use it for, let's say, refuah. To eat and not to sell. So because it's an assay and not a lota assay, it's an isser, but it's a lighter isser. But even the lighter isser of shvis is kosher, is harsh, and the punishment over it is harsh. And soon you're going to see the connection to our Eved. Adam noise v'noisen b'peiros shvis. A person may chalila starts dealing, buying, selling. A greengrocer. He deals with fruit of shvis. He doesn't care about the Isser Torah. He wants money. Lesoif, what's going to happen to him at the end? Moichers metaltelov. He's going to end up selling his goods. He's going to get so poor, he's going to end up selling his stuff, selling his sofa, selling his table, selling his washing machines. He's going to end up selling those. Shenema, how do we know that's true? Mishnasa Yovel, Azois Toshuvu Isha Lechuzosoi. He talks about the year of Yovel. Tell me, in the year of Yovel mitzad agriculture is the same as Shemitah? Yes, of course. So Yovel, the Samich to Yovel, right next to Yovel, juxtaposed, it says, V'chitim kerumim kalamitecha, Oikona miyad amitecha, dover nikne miyad liad, which means the chitim keru. If you sell something you're not supposed to sell in the year of Yovel, which for that purpose is like Shemitah, you know what's going to happen? Kona miyad amitecha. You're going to end up buying and selling things that are from hand to hand. Yad shtaim. Everyone knows yad shtaim. Yeah. You may end up selling your mobile things, your movable goods. Oh, and that's the first stage. Lo hirgish. Let's say if he did not, the Gemara is going to elaborate more about hirgish, which means he didn't connect the dots. In other words, he did pay a shvis. Yeah, he has a greengrocer, and it says there pay a shvis for sale, not Otzer Bezdin. I sell pay a shvis because I need the money, and he got so poor that he has to start selling his tables and chairs. Lo hirgish. He doesn't connect the dots. He doesn't put two and two together. He doesn't feel. Yeah, Rashi says, "Loisam libo leperonus abalov lachzam evesh beyoded." He doesn't think this is a wake-up call from Hashem to be chayzer b'tshuva. He doesn't feel that. You know what's going to happen in the end? L'sof mecher tzdoisov. It's going to get worse. He's deteriorating. He's going to end up selling his own field, and it's worse to sell a field. Shenema, it says, "Kiyomu chachicha umochar me'achuzosoi." It says later on, if your brother gets poor, he's going to sell part of his achuzah, part of his estate. Loy bas liyodoy. Please notice, here we don't say loy hirgish, we say lo bas liyodoy. Surely loy bas liyodoy means that will be the next step. The next step down in that, downward way. Ad shomeches beitoy. Not only the field outside his house that are for investment or for work, even his own house is going to sell. Shenemar, it says in the next posuk there, Kim korbeis moshavir choima. A guy sells his house. Yep. So you see, and by the way, we're stopping in the middle of the brisa now, but later on the Gemara is going to say he's going to end up selling his daughter, and afterwards he's going to sell himself. In other words, we are now describing the very sad deterioration, the trajectory of a person who slowly and surely gets worse and worse without understanding it's a wake-up call from Hashem, is going to end up selling himself. So the guy who's an Eved Ivri usually is not a tzaddik. Eved Ivri is either the guy who stole and sold by Beis Din, or Eved Ivri is the guy who got so poor, there's a reason why he's so poor, to the point he has to sell himself. Oy vavoy. Must be is not exactly a sweetie. And that's why, I'm just now stopping for a minute to explain, that's why the Gemara is asking on Abaye, no, why are we being so easy on him when it comes to redeem him? Maybe this guy should, excuse my language, stew in his juices, stay there for the entire 6 years, and if it became more expensive, no, then we won't redeem you until you pay the high price. Okay? Now, but the Gemara stops now in the middle of the brisa to ask the following question. It's a stylistic question on the brisa in the middle of the brisa. The Gemara is asking on the loshon of the brisa. Which means at the first stage of deterioration, which is when after he started selling his stuff, his tables and chairs, his metaltalin, we said lo hirgish. Didn't you get the wake-up call? Weren't you misragesh? Didn't you understand what's going on? Well, he didn't. And then the next step, we say surely loy bas liyodoy. Clearly, the next step will go down and down. He's going to sell his field, then he's going to sell his house, then his daughter, then himself. The animals are like metaltalin. Okay. Why do we change a loshon? Yeah. Answers the Gemara Keder Rav Huna. This is coming to assert what Rav Huna says. The famous line of Rav Huna. Doma Rav Huna. It's also I think in Yoma Pevov. Keven she'over odom avero v'shonaba hutraloi. Once a person basically transgressed, a person did an avera once, second time, and he did it again once and twice, then already it's allowed to him. He's allowed to do it. What? What really? If you do an avera twice and third time I'm allowed to do whatever I want? No. It becomes as if it's mutter for him. He becomes insensitive. He becomes desensitized. In other words, if the person does it there once, twice, at the beginning he's ashamed. First time, second time. When it comes to a third time, unfortunately, he's already entrenched in sin. He's already not, he doesn't even realize it's usher. That's reality. We see it by the youth. We see it by people. Yeah. The first time they're ashamed. They feel bad. second time, third time already. Yeah, she's used to wearing pants. Lo leinu, that's it. Now continues the brisa. Loy bas liyoda achamochers bitoy. The next step in that downward way, yeah, he sells his own daughter. Sheneemar v'chim ko ishes bitoy le'amo. Now, frag the Gemara, the afagav the bitoy loy ksiva b'hainyono. Although the sale of the daughter is not written in the Torah, it's not written next to the other psukim. Still, the brisa does place the daughter as part of the process. Why? Akamash malan nizbin inish bate velo nezif beribisa. Wow, 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 wow. We're not going to continue now. We're going to continue tomorrow. But basically, we're talking here about that it's preferable to sell your own daughter, which is a very severe thing. This is something very, very bad. However, as we're going to see tomorrow, another guy who is punished for and gets to that very sad deterioration is a person who lends beribis. Yeah, he's lending beribis. So a person who lends beribis also gets punished that way. So that we'll discuss tomorrow. But basically, again, let's just summarize where we're holding. So tomorrow we're not going to come to fresh ground. According to Abaye wanted to say, why is it that we're so lenient on what? Redeeming the Eved always with a lower rate. Either the lower rate was the beginning of a slavery or current stage of slavery. We always go for the cheaper price, making sure he's redeemed quickly from the Jewish master. Why? I know that we treat nicely the Eved, it's part of the rehab, don't make him feel bad. When it comes to redeeming him, why? Let him finish his 6 years unless he really, really pays a high price. Because we see that this guy is a guy who has to be punished and finally learn the lesson. Yeah, he's been deteriorating, boom, 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 downward, never got the lesson, maybe not. That's a question Gemara has, and we're still in the middle of describing that dissension of the person who is selling stuff he's not supposed to sell. Maybe all be zoiche to Geula Shlema, Atzlocho, Brocha, Mashiach should redeem us very soon. Thank you to everybody here. Navas Shalom to all our viewers in Torah Anytime and YouTube channel. Thank you.